Singha Beer and Chang Beer are brands known globally these days. You see them just about everywhere alcohol is sold. Now, what most people don't realize about these breweries is that in Thailand, they're actually developing luxury residential projects and amazing mixed-use developments and a ton of other real estate. And it's not just these two swapping brews for buildings. Some of the companies behind Asia's most well-known beers have also dipped their toes into the real estate game. Now, of course, it's important to note that the same people making the beer are not the same ones making decisions on real estate projects and vice versa. These are usually distinct arms headed by different people, so there's no real overlap there. However, it's interesting nonetheless. Part of that is due to the novelty factor more than anything else. There's been so much consolidation in the beer and alcohol industry, with most of the global giants scooping up local brands. That being said, a few of Asia's most popular beers have managed to break out and form their own massive conglomerates. Even then, the ones that did grow almost doubled down on the beverage industry. For example, Japan's Asahi, well known across the globe, but they've almost exclusively pinned down their company's interest in beverages and breweries and all of that other stuff, expanding that way as opposed to outwards into other industries. The story is similar for South Korea's Hitae, a beer massive domestically, but whose business interests almost always focused on the drinks market. And of course, your popular brews in Indonesia, Singapore, and Malaysia were gobbled up by the multinational firms. A handful of breweries in Asia have not only managed to escape that fate, but were bold enough to try their hand at real estate. This is a look at the breweries in Asia who have active property development arms. Boon Rod Brewery, the owner of Singha Beer, made a splash in 2014 when it purchased local developer Rasa Property Development and rebranded it Singha Estate. The move itself wasn't necessarily a surprise, however. 4 years prior, in 2010, the brewery purchased a major land plot that was formerly home to the Japanese embassy in Bangkok. Everybody knew that they were going to do something with this land, but no one was quite sure what just yet. So when that acquisition happened, it seemed it was a matter of if not when Boon Rod Brewery would be entering the real estate game. What has been surprising is just how heavily the maker of Singha Beer has leaned into that brand for its real estate developments. We aren't simply talking about using the name. You will find nods or homages to beer, to drinks, to its core business in many of its property developments. Both the S at Singha Complex and the S Aso are designed in a way to invoke people to think about Singha's core business, which is of course beer. The developer has moved away from this style in some of its more recent projects, but continues to lean heavily into what it dubs the Singha life. So, are these Singha estate developments any good, or is it just a product of the company's drunken ambition driving it to do something it was ill-suited to do in the first place? Well, all things considered, there is really a lot to like about the projects developed by Singha Estate, especially on the residential sector. If you look at what they do to incorporate the Singha lifestyle into their projects, it really does stand out. The developer goes above and beyond when it comes to amenities and facilities to create some really memorable condominiums in Bangkok. For example, the S condominium at Singha Complex has a multi-story rock climbing wall on the 33rd or 34th story of that project. It's spectacular to look at, and obviously it would be amazing if you lived there. When you look at all of Singha Estate's developments, they do look sleek, they do look modern, and there is a splash of fun. There's a splash of that lifestyle in each and every one of them. Now, these are the characteristics you would obviously expect from a beer company. And of course, this is what allows Singha Estate to stand out, because you'll see a lot of developers in Thailand try to be fun or to try to incorporate those lifestyle elements into their projects, but they don't have the same authenticity as what Singha Estate brings to the table. And really, that is what Singha Estate and Boon Rod Brewery are selling. They aren't selling you just a place to live, they're selling you a chance to invest in their lifestyle. Now, Singha Estate has its reach sort of in all different sectors. The company has launched 3 Bangkok condominiums and plans for a 4th are on the way. They're also active in the detached housing segment, and they've developed a few office complexes as well, including Dow Properties' own home of the Singha complex. So it's really interesting if you look at what Singha Estate has done, and by extension Boon Rod Brewery, to really sort of bring in what made the brewery popular and what it markets itself as into real estate development in Thailand. If Singha and Boon Rod Brewery are doing something, it's only natural to assume Chang is also doing that. And of course they are when it comes to property development. In fact, they've been active in real estate about a decade before Boon Rod even entered the field. However, the two rivals' approach to real estate in Thailand could not be more different. Whereas Singha openly embraced their brand as part of their real estate developments and has tapped into that to market these projects, Singha has done nothing of the sort. Now, of course, that's part of the more siloed structure of TCC Group, which is a huge conglomerate with a ton of holdings in a ton of different sectors. So ultimately, everything sits under the TCC Group umbrella, if you will. Now that group includes Thai Brev, the manufacturer of Chang, alongside numerous other drinks, and also there you'll have TCC assets in Fraser's Property Thailand, the two organizations that oversees the group's real estate interests. The most notable project coming from TCC assets and Fraser Property, it's a joint venture, is obviously One Bangkok, what is being dubbed Thailand's largest ever real estate development. Of course, the group does have other projects in its portfolio beyond that. Other TCC Group properties include Samyan Mittertown, Park Ventures Ecoplex, and W Bangkok Hotel. And while Singha really focused on bringing its brand to life, we're probably never ever going to see a Chang branded condominium in Thailand, or elsewhere in the world for that matter. San Miguel is the most popular beer in the Philippines and Hong Kong. Founded in 1890, it has become one of Asia's, I think, most notable conglomerates over the years, especially in the Philippines. Its long history has seen San Miguel venture way beyond beers and other drinks. Its interests include holdings in power generation, infrastructure, and oil, to name a few industries. San Miguel even owned a 49% stake in Philippine Air back in the 2010s. The beer maker launched its real estate arm, San Miguel Properties, and has slowly built up a portfolio of projects. Most of these tend to focus on detached housing in suburban Metro Manila and other outlying provinces around the metro. The most notable project from the developer is undoubtedly the Makati Diamond Residences. The luxury serviced apartments are very popular in Manila, and the large ballroom is pretty well known for its ability to host weddings. Ultimately, San Miguel's ventures into real estate have been much more modest than, say, what Singha is doing or what Chang is doing via its various subsidiaries, but the San Miguel Properties is active and it does have a few projects in its portfolio. If we're being totally honest here, when I say Japanese beer maker, Sapporo probably isn't the first brand that comes to mind. However, unlike its more well-known and bigger competitors, Sapporo does have a real estate development arm under its brand. The company launched Sapporo Real Estate in 1988 more out of necessity than any other reason. The company had some old breweries, one in Sapporo and others in Tokyo, that it wanted to turn into viable commercial spaces while still retaining the site's original charm. Both Sapporo Factory in Hokkaido and Yabisu Garden Place have become popular destinations after launching in the 1990s. The conglomerate completed another commercial center, Ginza Place in 2016, featuring a similar mix of restaurants, retail spaces, and bars, as you would expect, serving fine Sapporo beer products. A total of 5 developments have been developed by Sapporo Real Estate over the years. One of these is located in Tokyo's Ebisu neighborhood near Yabisu Garden Place. Of all of Sapporo Real Estate's holdings, they were all developed before 2006. Additionally, Sapporo Real Estate owns 7 other office buildings, both in Hokkaido and Tokyo, with the majority actually being in the Ebisu neighborhood around its Ebisu Garden Place. So now you're either thirsty or want to buy a property, or maybe both, but we do hope you enjoyed our look at some of the brewers getting active in real estate across Asia. That does it for me. I'm Cheyenne Hollis, and we'll see you next time.